Chapter 1. The Destruction of Mako Reactor 1. The Chapter 1 title appears on screen. It could be perceived as a spoiler, but since this is a story video game, I think it's fitting. It also seamlessly pops up and fades. Personally, I like it. Chapter 1 is pretty much exactly what is in the demo. You can download for free. I say this for good reason, as it was intentionally designed to be pretty truthful to the original, to rope in buyers. As the Chapter 1 title fades, you're able to control Cloud for the first time. You can move him the other direction and freely move the camera around him to look around at the detail of the world. There isn't an option to change to a first-person perspective, unfortunately. I have to praise the lighting here, and the level of detail with the animations. Even if Cloud is just standing there, his eyes blink. His eyes will look around. He'll turn his head and shuffle a bit when idle, making him look alive, even when he isn't doing anything. Pressing square, and Cloud will do a one-handed downward diagonal cut, which can be used to destroy boxes. Sparks fly when he does this against objects. When you walk forward, a cutscene occurs, with two Shinra guards running at you. Barrett says, "You're up," and runs past them along with Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. We get a brief tutorial on the basics of combat. You can press square continually to combo up to a 5-hit combo with this Buster Sword. You can additionally hold down square to unleash an attack that can strike multiple enemies. In the original, Cloud's attack animation was a dash across the screen to deliver a downward diagonal slash. It's a right to left slash in the original. In the remake, we see this attack perfectly recreated as his first attack, except it's left to right. He can cover a lot of distance with his first attack. I don't have any problem with this minor change. Cloud can cut it any way he likes. Sparks fly with each strike, and there's a sense of weight in all of his attacks in his balanced defensive operator stance. If you chain all his attacks together, his first strike leads to a right to left side cut, which hits multiple enemies in front of him. Then to a downward cut. Then Cloud spins around and delivers an upward slash in a full body motion, up and around his body, then fluidly transitions to spin around, finishing with a leaping circular slash that hits multiple enemies, utilizing the momentum of the spin. He fluidly allows the blade to follow its circular motion and momentum, so that he stays balanced. Holding the attack button executes a spinning slash that hits in front and behind him. The battle system as a whole feels fast and fluid. One might also note the materia slotted in Cloud's Buster Sword. Materia slotted shows up on the weapons. A very cool detail. The guards you kill disappear into Mako energy and into the life stream, which is another pretty cool detail. Defeating the guards gets you to level 7, just like the original. Final Fantasy IV also did this by starting the main character, Cecil, at level 10 to show in RPG terms that he's had quite a bit of battle experience. I mean, he is the commander of the Air Force in that game. And so Cloud, similarly, starts at level 7 to show that he's had quite a bit of battle experience. As you head into the station, the guards see you and run at you. Barrett, Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse are hiding behind the corner and quickly jump over the gate as the guards go past them. Jesse says, "Have fun," to you. We get a short tutorial on the ATP gauge. It fills slowly as time passes, but you can fill it quicker by attacking. Once a bar is full, your character can use an ability, an item, or use a spell. Currently, Cloud only has fire materia, so he can cast fire. He has two abilities he can use: Focus Thrust and Braver. Focus Thrust is a dashing or lunging thrust attack, while Braver was Cloud's first limit break in the original. In the original, it was a jumping downward cut, but in this game, Cloud does a front-flipping downward cut. Pressing X opens the command menu, putting the game into a matrix-like bullet time while you select commands. It is called Tactical Mode. After you take out the guards, you get a brief tutorial on the menu, and opening the map, as well as action moves Cloud can do while moving to the icon. If you are admiring how good natural Cloud's spiky hair looks, a poster on the wall advertises the hair product he probably uses. Hair tonic for astonishingly radiant and spiky hair. Cloud jumps or vaults over the gate. As he does, more guards come down the stairs. With their attention on you, the rest of the crew hurries up the stairs. You get a brief tutorial on guarding and evading. Guarding reduces damage taken and charges your ATB meter. Evading enables you to roll out of the way. The animation of him blocking has him using the broad blade as a shield. A neat detail is you can move while guarding, enabling you to get closer. Tactical mode is a wonderful addition, both enabling you to have time to make tactical decisions, as well as seeing the character's moves in slow motion. You can control the camera during this, allowing you to get a different view. I could see the bullets being fired at Cloud. The cutscene transitions from video to gameplay are completely seamless, as well. The bombing mission song plays throughout the section. It's an orchestral version and makes this area feel cinematic. I do like this song. It's hard to say which version of this song I like more. I think they're both pretty good, and this one's probably a bit more fitting for this game. Once Cloud takes care of the guards, you head upstairs. You get a brief tutorial on using the triangle button to interact with the world. You can use it to open chests, doors, or talk to people. Sometimes you will have to hold the button down. 2 chests lie in that building for you to try it out. One is right in front of you, and one is hidden, teaching you that you may have to search for hidden chests. This is good design. Well, I suppose now is as good a time as any to go and admire the detail of the bricks on the wall. Look at it. Isn't it purty? Anyway, as you leave the building, you'll find yourself on the 2nd level above the train where you got off. You can break the boxes to get items. As you approach your crew, you come to the first story moment when it comes to dialogue. We see Biggs and Jesse introduce who Cloud the main character is, while talking amongst themselves. Cloud Strife. If the subtitles are on, the word soldier is capitalized, showing it to be the name of an official military force. Biggs mentions that he isn't in soldier anymore, and that he's a professional, unlike the rest of them. Cloud talks for the first time in a cutscene, saying that this is a one-time job for him. The cutscene finishes, and Biggs and Wedge continue their conversation that you can listen to or not. Heading over to Barrett causes the next cutscene, with Barrett casually putting his hand on Cloud's shoulder, pushing him to the side a little and walks past him. Wedge tries to talk to Cloud, but Cloud isn't interested in talking to him. Biggs and Jesse get the door open and hurry through. Barrett calls Wedge to head out, then turns to Cloud, saying that he'd better pull his weight, then walks forward. We see some subtle facial animation from Cloud. We then get an exact recreated shot from the original game, where the camera pulls down to Cloud and looks up at the Mako reactor as he looks up at it, then returns to gameplay. The facial animation and voice acting are obvious huge improvements compared to the original. The voice acting is spot on here, and the facial animation looks very realistic, and gives us an extra layer of subtle performance. Square Enix revealed in a documentary on YouTube that they used technology that automatically generates lip syncing from the words of the characters, and it also adjusts their facial animations. It's specific to the language. They incorporated the actors' performances using the motion capture and facial capture into the characters' faces. According to the same documentary, they used a real gymnast to capture the movement for the flip Cloud does in the opening movie off the train. In this scene in both games, we get an introduction to Cloud and his relationship to the other characters. He is called Merc by Barrett, making it clear that he is a mercenary and that he is being paid. Cloud is a former soldier member and a professional. This is just a job for him. He has little interest in conversing with the other members. We get the iconic shot of him looking up at the Mako reactor. I think the shot is more impressive in the original due to the contrast from the wide view to zooming in on Cloud than looking up. This doesn't necessarily take away from this game though. If there was any doubt before on who the main character is, this shot makes it abundantly clear. The original was more exaggerated and clearer, while this remake is a little subtler, but captures the exact same spirit. As you go forward, you get a brief tutorial on locking on targets and switching by pressing R3 and left and right. A Shinra security guard and guard dog monster stand in your way. It's this guard dog that starts a trend that I'm not sure I like about the action system in this game. He has much more health than the security guard. If you wanted to use normal attacks, you would have to use 5 normal combinations of 5 attacks, each equaling 25 sword strikes in all, for one monster. It's obvious that what they are doing here is encouraging you to use your special attacks. That's the way the system works. Your normal attacks for monsters like these purpose is to fill up your ATP gauge so you can use abilities. This isn't the case for all monsters, but it is for many of them. I'll talk more about it when I get to the first boss battle. When you continue forward, the camera follows your crew on the second floor. Wedge says to catch up to them using the elevator. Cloud takes the elevator, and as you catch up to them, Jesse makes a hole in the gate. The other members duck through. As you try to do the same, Biggs motions and tells you about the encroaching guards behind you. Perhaps now is a good time to mention that pressing the middle pad button while targeting an enemy enables you to scan them. It brings up some info on them. Most of the data is unknown until you use the analysis materia that you get later, but it does give a bit of lore information on that enemy. For instance, the first enemy you encounter is the security officers. Scanning them provides you with this bit of info. Troopers belonging to Shinra's Public Security Division, typically seen patrolling the city streets and company installations. Many are new recruits with little training. Cloud ducks under the gate and eventually finds the crew behind a big metal crate. As you show up, the guards are alerted to you, allowing your crew to keep going. As you take out the guards, you flip a switch to open a door and see most of your crew go forward into the reactor. Wedge stands guard here. If you rotate the camera to the opposite direction of the reactor, you can get a nice view of a huge trench leading to the Shinra building. You can talk to Wedge if you want. He simply tells you where to go. As you head into the reactor, the camera zooms out and shows you a wide shot of the outside of it. We then get our second major dialogue scene. Barrett makes an analogy of soldiers being like guard dogs. He then asks Cloud how to get to their destination. When Cloud hesitates, Barrett immediately gets suspicious and asks if he's scared to betray the Shinra, or if he's loyal to them. Barrett doesn't trust him. Cloud has his first of many mental headaches, then replies that he doesn't know how to get to it, but he'll be fine. In the original, this is where Barrett goes on about saving the planet and the Mako energy being the lifeblood of the planet. He also joins Cloud at this point in the original to keep him in line. In this remake, it's done a little later, perhaps to stretch it out. This analogy of Cloud being like a dog is important in this remake due to symbolism displayed later. The scene gives us a few clues to who Barrett is and who Cloud is, but they are subtle, so I won't reveal anything yet. Those mental headaches of Cloud's are important, though, down the line. Talking to Biggs gets him to unlock the door. There are a number of guards here, unlike the original. As Cloud goes through, the guards see him and lock the door separating Cloud from his crew. Cloud sighs and says a snappy line and confidently proceeds to take them out. We get a brief tutorial on Cloud's unique ability, switch to his attack-oriented Punisher stance. Cloud moves slower in this stance, but his attacks are more powerful. Guarding in this stance will enable him to automatically counter-attack melee attacks. However, he can't guard against ranged attacks or magic. When he dodges, he reverts back to his operator stance. His attacks in his Punisher stance will change based on a few factors. If there's some distance between you and the enemy, Cloud will perform a front handspring upward into a low sweeping sword slash, followed by a downward diagonal cut. When close, Cloud will initiate two possible combinations, either a quick barrage of an upward cut right to left, an uppercut left to right, and another uppercut right to left, followed by a quick spinning downward diagonal cut right to left, or he'll do a heavier combination of a spinning one-handed downward diagonal cut right to left down onto one knee, then a one-handed upward diagonal cut left to right, finishing with a spinning with right leg lifted downward cut, with blade going through it upward behind Cloud. You can also hold the attack button to do a finishing downward thrust or stab at any time to finish off a combo. Once you defeat the guards, the door behind you opens and the crew joins you. We get a first glimpse of Jessie's new flirty personality. In the original, she is more caring and doting. I'm alright with this change. Talking to Jessie commences a cutscene. We find out that no one at Avalanche Command will talk to them. It's only because Jessie knows someone that they even have the codes. This is different from the original, where Jessie or Biggs mentions about how many died just to get these codes. She opens the door. In the next room, you both have to press a switch. When you do, Jessie asks about whether you and Tifa are close. This triggers a memory for Cloud. This scene isn't in the demo. In first-person perspective, you open a door to see a desert area with houses and a water tower. Fans will recognize this as Nibelheim, Cloud's hometown. Cloud walks over. We see a child Tifa with friends. Tifa waves and calls to Cloud. Cloud looks the other way. Tifa asks if Cloud is ignoring her. Tifa is annoyed. This makes it obvious that Cloud is also a child in this memory. Before Cloud is able to answer Jessie, Barrett walks past him, cutting him off. Jessie and Cloud follow Barrett into the elevator. It's clear that Star Wars was an influence to the Final Fantasy series. One of these influences is having characters named Biggs and Wedge, at least since Final Fantasy VI. The mention about how many died just to get the codes also seems like an influence from Star Wars A New Hope specifically. It's hard to say much about this small memory of Cloud's childhood that pops up. Fans will love glimpsing Cloud's hometown in full 3D. Unless it sets up a change that will happen in the next Final Fantasy VII Remake game, it seems a little bit pointless and kind of unnecessary. The only thing it says is that Cloud and Tifa are childhood friends, which seems unnecessary since that happens later anyways. To my current knowledge, though, it's not offensive, so I guess it's not really a big deal. We get a short scene where we see Heidegger and President Shinra. They are watching our group with cameras. Heidegger mentions that these people are called Avalanche, and are investigating whether they are the same people who made an attempt on killing President Shinra. This information was not in the original, but comes from the extended universe of media that came out after the original Final Fantasy VII. Before Crisis was a phone game that only came out in Japan, as far as I know. We see the activities of the eco-terrorist group Avalanche before the events of Final Fantasy VII. I'm personally okay with this addition. While in the elevator, we get Barrett's speech about why they are doing what they are doing. Barrett talks about this Mako reactor sucking Mako energy out of the planet. One detail I failed to mention about the opening movie was the vast desert around the city of Midgar. Barrett proceeds to say that Mako is the lifeblood of the planet. The planet bleeds green like we bleed red. So what's going to happen when it's all gone? In this remake, Barrett says he hears the cry of the planet. It's crying out in pain. Cloud just says he needs help, and to worry about the next 5 seconds instead of the planet. Jessie and Barrett react to Cloud's non-caring attitude. As they walk out of the elevator, Barrett aims his gun arm at Cloud, saying one false move and he'll shoot him. He shoots the autogun mounted above them. Jessie tells Cloud to bear with Barrett, as Barrett decides to fight with him to keep an eye on him. She also has a line where she says that there are places a sword just can't reach. Cloud doesn't like it, but he goes along with it. I feel like Barrett's speech in this remake is more preachy than the original. Cloud's lines in the original are a bit more in line with what the average player's mindset is. In the remake, Cloud is more rude, while in the original, he simply doesn't care. The average player doesn't know much about Mako or the planet game yet, so we are at the very least ignorant like Cloud. Either way, the spirit of the scenes are the same. Barrett's line in the remake that he hears the cry of the planet is interesting and possibly disconcerting. He doesn't say that in the original. It still works, but this idea that the planet is given human emotions is a central idea that is explored later in the original by Aerith and Bugenhagen. Does that mean that they will further emphasize the environmentalist theme in this game? The line Jesse has about there being places that a sword can't reach is clearly a tutorial line saying that you need to use Barrett to take out foes that are out of reach. However, this execution is sloppy and ham-fisted, because right after we get a short tutorial on exactly that, and Barrett says a much better line saying pretty much the same thing. Barrett's speech reveals them as eco-terrorists that are trying to bomb this reactor for the sake of saving the planet. Of course, as established before, to Cloud this is just a job. He doesn't care about all that. He also doesn't care about the companionship of his team. He probably prefers to work solo, but as Cloud himself says, a job's a job. Barrett doesn't outright say it clearly like the original, but he's going to accompany him now to keep an eye on him. The guy's no stranger to confrontations. Cloud spots an autogun, which is called a sentry ray in this game, as it senses him ready to shoot. A message flashes across the screen saying that Barrett has joined the party. A short tutorial pops up explaining how Barrett works. Barrett specializes in ranged attacks. Holding down the square button releases a sustained burst of automatic fire when equipped with a ranged weapon. Later on, you can equip him with close-range weapons. Barrett can fire from safe locations and hit enemies that Cloud cannot reach with his sword. Thanks, tutorial. As the tutorial page vanishes, Barrett says the line, "Gonna throw your sword at him? Let the man with the gun go to work." Clearly, 3 reminders, one after another, are required here to get that message into our skulls. But at least Barrett's line is the least forced and most natural reminder. You automatically take control of Barrett. After a little bit, a brief tutorial shows up to explain Barrett's unique ability, Overcharge. You press triangle while in control of Barrett to deliver a heavy-hitting attack that fills a large portion of his ATP Gauge. Once unleashed, it takes a long time to recharge this attack. Pressing triangle, however, will speed up the process. After you take out the 3 sentry rays with Barrett, you get a brief tutorial on switching characters. You can switch to different characters depending on the battle situation. You can also stick with the same character and issue orders to party allies. Use up or down or left or right on the control pad to switch characters. Use L2 or R2 to issue commands to allies. As the tutorial fades, some monodrives attack, which are a little like mini drones, for lack of a better description. Barrett has lightning materia equipped, which allows him to use lightning magic, especially effective against many machine enemies. He also has 2 abilities. One is Steel Skin, which ups Barrett's defense for a while, and a second ability is Focused Shot, where a blast of energy is fired from his gun arm. When the monodrives are destroyed, you head down the stairs. A few things I want to say here is that the switch feels really nice and fluid. You find out as time goes on that switching characters constantly is necessary if you want to play the most effectively. The original was a turn-based role-playing game that was command-based. That is, you picked commands for the characters as their turns pop up. Coordinating your characters' efforts as a team was paramount to good strategy, and much easier in a turn-based game. They wanted to have a hybrid of the turn-based strategy and the action RPG in this game. Luckily, I feel they did succeed in creating a strategic action-y battle system here. We also get to experience one of the best features of this remake, the banter between the characters. It occurs randomly and situationally, which makes it feel natural, and it's pretty well written. The banter between Cloud and Barrett is especially interesting because of their opposite personalities. Barrett is hot-headed and confrontational, while Cloud is professional, cool-headed, and something of a non-caring jerk. Cocky, if you will. While not all characters truly grow and change in this game, or this part of the story, the characterization in this game is top-notch. In many of the Final Fantasy games, you don't have the freedom to customize your party, at least for a while, in order for you to get familiar with the character's abilities, and for the characters to develop a relationship to each other. You, of course, get to know the characters through these interactions. It's one of the things I like the most about the Final Fantasy series. It's worth noting that in this first game, you never get to customize your party members, which I don't personally have a problem with. Proceeding down the stairs, you'll come face to face with a laser security system. This wasn't in the original, but it's clearly a tutorial for running. It's kind of fun. As a laser security system, it kind of sucks, though. Jesse's lines make it seem like a big deal. Jesse goes first. You get a brief tutorial on dashing outside of battle. What makes this section especially fun, though, is Jesse's comments or lines when you purposefully run or walk into the lasers.
You okay? Pay more attention. Just relax. You should go. Sorry, couldn't help myself. You soldiers sure can take a beating. Still kicking, I see. Are you trying to get hit? You sure you were a soldier? I had no idea you were such a klutz. You have a fetish or something? There's a fine line between being daring and being dumb. Food for thought. Like a walk in the park, huh?
Proceeding down the last stairs puts you face to face with a sweeper. Jesse says they can wipe out a whole squad in seconds. You could almost call this thing the mini-boss of this chapter, as it's harder than anything you've faced yet. Despite Cloud's earlier line, he also says it's a heavy weapons platform. If they rush in, they die. They need to hit it with magic. When you do enough damage, a tutorial appears on screen on staggering enemies. Hitting enemies with certain attacks or dealing large amounts of damage will temporarily knock them off balance, and pressured will appear underneath their gauge, under their life bar. Once it's full, you can stagger them. The gauge fills faster depending on the abilities and magic used, as well as the foe's vulnerabilities. Find the most effective attack to quickly finish off each enemy. When you are close to staggering it, another tutorial page pops up on staggered foes. Enemies who've been staggered are defenseless and take more damage. Using unique abilities on a staggered foe will quickly boost your ATB gauge. Boost your ATB gauge quickly so you can unleash more abilities and spells. This stagger design idea is clearly from Final Fantasy XIII. It's completely random, but there is a chance the sweeper will jump on one of your characters, attempting to crush them with their feet. A tutorial page will pop up explaining being bound. Some enemies will occasionally bind your party members with unblockable attacks. If your character is bound and unable to act, quickly switch to a different character. If you do enough damage with the other character, the bound one will be freed. This further incentivizes switching characters constantly. It's a pretty cool addition. Barrett and Cloud's situational banter is on full display throughout this fight. Once the sweeper is destroyed, we get a slightly awkward moment for Cloud before they move on. If you want, you can take a look around at the excellent lighting. Cloud and Barrett head through the corridor and arrive in the Mako room with the reactor core. The camera zooms in to show your target. Now is probably a good time to talk about the music. When you enter the Mako reactor music plays. The remake's music is more cinematic, orchestral, and subtle. It's good and fitting, but I have to say that I slightly prefer the original. The original had a more industrial feel, and the voices were clearer and more haunting. One of the problems with a cinematic movie-like soundtrack is it's easier to not notice it as much. That being said, a movie-like cinematic soundtrack is perfect for this type of game. The battle music fluidly transitions in once you get into battles and fades out once finished. The battle music in this section is a battle version of the Mako reactor theme. While it's an interesting idea, I do prefer the original battle theme personally. Looking around at this room, you can see detailing of wear and tear around you in the ventilation shafts, the rust on the metal walkways, and the fading of the yellow paint in areas. The detail in this room is pretty staggering. However, as a whole, it looks shinier than the original. The original has a more grimy look. The platform where you set the bomb is bigger, which is fine and makes sense because of it being an action game. A nitpick I have is the level of the Mako below that platform. In the original, it was much lower, making the place seem bigger and more dangerous. Here in the remake, it's only a little below the platform. I think the visual look would have been much more dramatic if the Mako level was way lower. Cloud and Barrett make their way down the ladder. They walk across and down some stairs to where Jessie is. If you try to follow the right path, you'll hit an invisible wall and get scolded by Jessie. Talking to Jessie will cause her to say a humorous line. Cloud and Barrett head down the second ladder. Holding the run button on your way down ladders makes Cloud slide down the ladder, or on the way up makes him climb faster. It's a pretty cool, efficient detail. Walking forward, Cloud and Barrett fight off a sentry ray and some monodrives. As they proceed to walk down the stairs and across, Barrett asks if they fell into the Mako, if they would continue falling down to the planet's core. Cloud answers, matter-of-factly, that the pump would just suck them back up. At the end of the walkway are 4 monodrives. After taking them out, Cloud and Barrett head down the ladder. Barrett's all pumped up. In the original, this was where the first save point was. You can only save at save points and on the world map in the original. It's a product of its time. This remake has an autosave slot, but allows you to save anytime, anywhere, that you can open the main menu. It's a very nice quality of life detail. Looking at the Mako, you can see specks of energy coming up out of it. Walking forward to your target commences a cutscene. Barrett wants Cloud to prove himself by setting the bomb. He wants him to prove he's one of them. Cloud, of course, refutes this, saying he never said he was one of them. He's just here for the paycheck. Barrett doesn't like this, and so tells him to do the job then. Cloud grudgingly takes it and sets it. Barrett seems to enjoy bossing Cloud around. Before Cloud sets it, he gets one of those mental headaches. He hallucinates seeing a black feather fall to ominous music. Barrett asks Cloud what's wrong. Cloud responds that he's fine. He asks what he should set the timer to. Barrett responds, "Your call, Merc." You get a choice between 20 and 30 minutes. Before Cloud can press the button, a machine scorpion attacks them. This is the Chapter 1 boss. This scene is much simpler than the original. Barrett simply says that Cloud should set the bomb so that Barrett can watch him to make sure he doesn't pull any tricks. The mental headache is arguably more ominous, with the sound and text on screen saying, "Watch out, this isn't just a reactor." It's much more subtle in the remake, but works fine. The facial animation definitely adds to the scene. My real gripe with this part is the timer, though. In the original, you had no choice. It was set at 10 minutes, which gave you plenty of time to escape. While in the remake, the place is bigger. 10 minutes is still plenty of time to escape. I've always gotten to the elevator within 10 minutes, but they give you an option of 20 or 30 minutes. Both are overkill, and no challenge at all. What were they thinking? This is another example of sloppy design and makes me wonder if they playtested it. Having the option of 10 to 20 minutes would have been perfect, giving experienced gamers at least the feeling of a challenge, while giving newcomers plenty of time. The boss jumps down from above. Barrett asks how they fight this thing. Cloud responds by saying it has reinforced armor plating, but the internals can be overloaded. Lightning magic. The look of this is pretty faithful to the original. The boss music plays. The machine scans Cloud and Barret. Again, the banter between Cloud and Barret is on full display here, and is my favorite thing about this fight. I will say that I find myself liking this fight the more I play through it. What I'm not sure I like is the multiple phases of this fight. There are too many. After doing a bit of damage, the Scorpion's Sentinel puts up a barrier to protect itself, and jumps on the other side of the screen. You have to hit his weak spot, which is his rear or butt. If you spend too long there, it will use its tail to smash that area. In its third phase, it fires rockets at the ceiling, which causes debris to fall, and then starts charging up to fire its tail laser. You have to get behind the debris before it fires. When your limit gauge is full, a short tutorial page pops up explaining limit breaks. Taking damage and staggering enemies fills your limit gauge. When the gauge is full, you can use limit breaks, which are extremely powerful attacks. You do not spend ATB charges to use these attacks. After doing enough damage, it enters its fourth phase. It has an auto repair system that tries to heal it. Also, 2 of its legs become available to destroy. Taking out one of the legs will cripple it for a bit, with the status pressured appearing. Taking out the other leg makes it especially susceptible to staggering. Once it's defeated, Cloud reaches level 8. The machine goes haywire and stumbles into the Mako and is destroyed. In the original, this boss fight is much easier. The only special tactical considerations are when the Scorpion's tail is up, you don't attack, or it will counterattack with its tail laser, and using lightning magic is very effective. The fight lasts about 2 minutes. In this remake, the fight lasts about 10 minutes, perhaps more if you're struggling. I do appreciate a lot of the things they did to make the fight more action-packed and immersive. There are more strategic considerations in this fight than the original. It tests your skill and teaches you about the different mechanics you can expect later on. I love the banter here, and I hear some different lines sometimes on consecutive playthroughs. How many lines did they even record for just this fight? However, did this fight really need to have 4 phases? A cutscene happens during each phase change, which also resets the stagger gauge. What I don't like about the phases is that the transitions interrupt the battle constantly. They could have transitioned without the cutscenes. This is one of my main complaints in this game. It feels the need to be flashy and epic, constantly, all the time. In other words, there are times it works, and times where it drags down the pacing and feel of the game. This entire game is only 5 hours worth of content in the original. It's obvious that this game has padding to make it reach that full game mark. What the original game lacked in difficulty, it made up for by being laser focused on the story and world building. What you, the player, lack in skill, the character makes up for in simulated skill. Every sword swing has more impact. Those guard dog enemies are a great example. In the remake, they would take 25 sword swings to kill. In the original, they take 1. This gives you more the feeling that you are role-playing as Cloud, a super soldier. The music reflects this and is a big and bombastic version of the original boss music. In the original, instead of the boss theme, the Bombing Mission song plays. I'm okay with both songs. The timer starts and a more intense version of Bombing Mission starts playing. It's time to escape. The entire place is on fire. You scurry up the ladder and are ambushed by monodrives on the way. You quickly finish them off and scurry up the second ladder. As you get up, a pipe falls, causing part of the walkway to fall away. Cloud jumps and grabs onto a part of the pipe. He pulls himself to the end, making his way to the walkway. A piece of asphalt fell on Jessie. Cloud lifts the asphalt off her. When free, Jessie exclaims, "My hero!" Barret calls to you to find a different way to the exit and to look after Jessie. He'll meet us there. Cloud follows Jessie down a ladder, over a walkway, and up another ladder. As you both start up a third ladder, Jessie is constantly talking, telling Cloud to hurry up. Cloud tells Jessie to shut up and climb, and that she's not helping. Jessie responds saying, "Sorry, it just keeps me focused. I'll freak out if I don't talk." Cloud says, "Have it your way." Cloud jumps off the walkway, onto the exit platform, joining up with Barret. Barrett says he'll cover her, and Jesse escapes through the door. Some monodrives and security guards are guarding this exit. As you take out the enemies, you head through the door through the corridor. A sweeper springs alive and attempts to stop you. After taking it out, you head upstairs. Some more monodrives attack you. Taking care of them, you head up the next stairs. On the next floor, at the end, a shock trooper jumps through a window and attacks you. They are vicious and more difficult than the regular enemies you faced. A solid strategy is to guard in your Punisher stance. You'll counterattack their melee attacks. After you manage to take him out, you head up the stairs. You find yourself face to face with 2 more shock troopers and some sentry rays. Once they are taken care of, you make it to the elevator. Regardless of how much time is left on the timer, the bomb explodes, which causes gas to leak from the reactor core device. We see President Shinra motion to Heidegger, who presses a button on his phone device. The machines go haywire, destroying the Mako reactor. In the elevator, Barrett and Cloud feel the explosion. Barrett is nervous and impatient, while Cloud is simply leaning, eyes closed and calm. As the elevator opens, you both head out. Jesse opens the door and everybody hurries through. Explosions are happening all around you as you make it outside the reactor. A piece of debris falls on Jesse. Cloud helps her up. As they both hurry out, a pipe falls on the walkway, causing part of it to fall. Cloud jumps high off it, onto another pipe, then jumps and flips off the pipe to the other side of the walkway. Jesse comments saying, "Okay, that was pretty cool." We see Cloud crack a small smile. Jesse says, "Alright, come on," and they head to safety. We see a giant explosion as the entire Mako reactor explodes. Debris falls all over the area. End of Chapter 1. Rescuing Jessie was optional in the original. In the remake, it isn't. Since I always chose to rescue her, I don't know how that changes things in the original. And now we come to something I legitimately hate about this remake. The scene showing Shinra blowing up their own reactor. It's not this scene by itself that I hate, but the other things as well that occur later due to this. Everything else so far is a nitpick in comparison. This is a blatant change from the original. We aren't talking about a change that is still ultimately saying the same thing. We're talking about a change to the story, which changes the message and spirit of the story. I'm okay with changes, but the story is the thing that made the original a masterpiece. It's changes like this that make this game inferior to the original. But mostly everything else is pretty darn good. I never even mentioned the sound design. The sound design of the remake is pretty good, giving a subtle, realistic feel to the game. The original is more memorable for me, however, because they created a number of iconic sounds that helped give more of a distinct feel to everything. The sound effects when navigating the menu and the sound of the bar going up on the level up screen were 2 examples of this. I believe this was the first game in the series with its own unique sound design feel. All in all, Chapter 1 of this remake is pretty solid. There is a lot to praise here. I find myself appreciating the details more every time I go through it. A lot of it is faithful to the original. The tutorials are not as good as the original, I'll talk more about that in Chapter 2, but they are spaced out, brief, and only show up when they are relevant. The art and visual design is phenomenal here, and you can use tactical mode, the camera, and the PlayStation 4's ability to take pictures and record video to appreciate every inch of it. The characterization is arguably better than the original. The battle system is fun and fluid. The music and sound is like that of a movie and very fitting. Cutscene transitions are fluid. The enemy designs have been well adapted. The only thing that takes a hit is the story for me, but the majority of it is pretty good in this chapter. Along with my other criticisms, Chapter 1 of this remake gets an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching.